Some young Japanese seem to be losing their taste for adventure. Fewer and fewer are going abroad to study or take vacations. Their generation is getting a reputation for being inward-looking.
But a Japanese manga artist is trying to change that mindset. She made her name in New York. I caught up with her in Tokyo to learn how she's encouraging young people to get out into the world. A bookstore in Tokyo last week hosted a popular manga artist. People lined up to get the autograph of Misako Rocks. Her latest book came out recently in Japan. Misako is one of the few Japanese to break through in the United States with English-language manga. Her most famous work, called Rock and Roll Love, was based on her personal relationships and experiences as a student in the U.S. It became a cult favorite among American teens.
Who's this cute boy? Is he from here?
I have to go. Have a good night.
Natalie, I just met my dream boy.
Comics supposed to be entertainment or fun to read, but my comic has more like a purpose or a method or like a dream, friendship, everything. So if kids can get the message, if they can also carry on, that makes me really happy.
Misako went to the United States in 1999 and spent a year as a university exchange student. She'd admired the American way of life since watching Hollywood movies as a child. Once she'd graduated in Japan, she returned to the U.S. as an intern puppeteer, but she couldn't make a living. In her Japanese works, she tells stories based on her real experiences.
I became homeless because my mean landlord kicked me out. I lived by picking through the garbage.
She married an American, but got a divorce. I've read your life story that was written in the manga and the books. You really had an interesting past.
Yes.
Not all things so good, right?
That time, my marriage, didn't work out. And I moved to a little town. I didn't have my own friends, anything. So I felt really lonely. And I look myself as a third person. And I noticed I didn't do anything. I never accomplished anything in my life, I realized.
Misako saw that many Americans loved Japanese manga and anime. She sat down by herself and began studying how to become a manga artist.
Maybe I'm gonna make manga in America. And if they're gonna like it, I'm gonna stay. Otherwise, I'm gonna move back to Japan. I had only two choices. And since I lived in a bottom of my life, I felt like I don't need to go back. I don't need to feel like I'm gonna fall anymore.
Misako had no connections in the U.S. publishing industry, so she had to market herself, making lots of telephone calls. Her work was often rejected, and she rewrote her stories over and over again. But her efforts bore fruit. In 2006, a publishing company owned by Disney offered to publish her work. 2 years later, the New York Public Library put Rock and Roll Love on its list of the best books for teenagers. Misako broke with an American comic tradition. She knew U.S. publishers traditionally targeted boys, so she took a cue from manga back in Japan and created stories that appealed to girls.
I actually started crying because it was very romantic.
I had kind of in common with the same as Mishaka's, dating somebody with two different culture distinct backgrounds.
Misako is also reaching out to Japanese students. She wants to show them the importance of expanding their horizons abroad. She's giving a special lecture right now.
I try and fail again and again, and then I always find some kind of breakthrough. That's probably because I never stand still.
Shukutoku University invited Misako to help the students think about careers. She says she thinks many young Japanese people today tend to be introverted and apathetic.
In the United States, everything is DIY, do it yourself. What counts is whether you can be independent and market yourself without being afraid of embarrassing yourself. It's important to have a sense of the big picture. You should have an ultimate goal of who you want to be. If you're working toward that goal, you won't care how people look at you or what they say.
I had a dream for the future while I was at junior high school. Then I worried I wouldn't make it. But what I heard today made me think I can achieve what I want if I keep up my passion.
Misako is also using her manga to take on another challenge.
Hey, move it! You're in my way. Got a complaint? Stop looking at me. You're weirding me out.
The theme is bullying. The main character is a girl who moved with her family to the U.S. from Japan. She only gets along with the geeks at school, and the other students bully her and her friends. Misako says she suffered discrimination while studying in the U.S. She thinks she can offer something special, as she's gone through that plight.
If those kids who have, like a place to escape, if this bounce back can be that place for them, that would be great. Because I just want to give them a message. It's okay to be different. And it's just okay to be who you are. Just keep doing what you're doing. Because in the future, that's going to be your weapon, I think.
Well, she worked hard, but also she fought hard.
And she really deserves her success. And this is her message to her viewers. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.